welcome to Polish with Ray. I'm Rachel, and today I am going to be sharing with you a brand new opal-inspired collection from By Dany Vianna. This collection is set to launch in early August. I'll put all of the details on the screen here for you, but they're going to launch on the By Dany Vianna site, which I will link down in the description box. So yeah, this is an opal-inspired collection. All the polishes contain these, well, most of them contain gorgeous, like iridescent flakes. They're really, really pretty. So after I share live swatches with you, I'll give you my final thoughts. So let's go ahead and get into the swatches. So I decided to put these in rainbow order. We're starting off with Dragonfire Opal. This one is described as having a cherry red jelly base with purple aurora shimmer, iridescent purple to pink flakes, and gold metallic micro flakes. This one is very opaque. For me, it was definitely like the oddball of the collection because you'll see as a whole this collection is very sheer, but this one was fully opaque for me in 2 coats. I think 2 coats will suit most people. Maybe longer nail links will want 3, but this one was beautiful. The flakes in there, the purple, almost gave this one kind of like a pinky kind of vibe. So here's what 2 coats looks like with a glossy top coat in some diffused lighting near a window. Next up, we have Fire Opal. This one's described as being a blood red sheer jelly base with red micro holographic glitters and fiery red to orange to gold flakes. So as described, this one is quite sheer. So for that reason, all the polishes in the rest of the collection, I'm going to show you what they look like built up in 3 coats on their own. And then I'm also going to show you on my thumb what they look like layered over a similarly colored cream base. So in 3 coats, I did not have full opacity with this one, but it is one of the more opaque shades in this collection. My visible nail line wasn't super prominent, but it still had that squishy, jelly juicy quality to it. I really like how the flakies dispersed in this one, and I thought the glitters were gorgeous. I really was drawn to the polishes in this release that had glitters as well as flakies. So here's 3 coats with a glossy top coat. Those flakies appropriately are so freaking fiery. I loved that contrast. And then on my thumb is what it looks like over a brown leaning red cream base. And then here's what it looks like in diffuse lighting, which of course conceals the nail line a little bit more. Next up, we have Sun Opal. This one's described as having a yellow jelly base with white irregular glitters and a mix of gold to green iridescent flakes and gold reflective glitters. So a few of these are reflective, which is an extra layer of fun. And this one was one of the more opaque shades as well. To my surprise, the jelly base was so smooth, so even, very easy to work with. It layered beautifully over a yellow cream, but honestly, my preference would be to wear this one on its own. It didn't end up as one of my top picks of the collection, but I really, really liked this one. I just loved the coverage in 3 coats, and those white irregular glitters, because of the jelly base, really kind of look golden. It's a beautiful polish. Here's what it looks like in 3 coats with a glossy top coat. You can still see some visible nail line, but it's not super prominent. I actually don't mind it with this base color. And then here's what it looks like over a bright yellow cream. Again, I prefer the jelly look, all of the dimension you get with those flakies and glitters when you build it up in 3 coats. In my opinion, it's just so much prettier than wearing this one as a topper, but I do appreciate having the versatility. Up next, we have Sky Opal, which is described as having a light blue sheer jelly base with blue reflective glitters and pink to gold iridescent flakes. This one was one of the more sheer shades of this release. I was a little bit surprised just how sheer it was on that first coat, which means it's going to layer well over anything. In 3 coats, this one does not cover the nail line much at all, but you do have this gorgeous pond effect with those flakies, with those reflective glitters, and all together it's a beautiful combination. So here's what it looks like in 3 coats with a glossy top coat and some diffused lighting. Those flakies are stunning. Personally, my preference for this one is to layer it as a topper. I layered it over a light blue cream, but honestly, I can't wait to play with it over other colors too. It's really pretty. This next one is just so fun. It's called Straw Opal, and it's described as having a sheer light blue jelly base with iridescent lime green gold stripe glitters and gold to green iridescent flakes. This one built up surprisingly well. Like the jelly base is definitely on the sheer side, but there are so many of those stripe glitters. I love that name. So many stripe glitters in there that in 3 coats, I had very close to full opacity. I had to look for my nail line. I would recommend going in for thinner coats with this polish because it is jam-packed with those flakies and those glitters. But look at that. Isn't that so fun? And I don't know what kind of flakies are in here, but my word, I loved the flakies. Like the glitters are fun. They steal the show, obviously, but every time I got a glimpse of those glitters, I was wowed. This is 1 coat over a light blue cream. The rest of my nails have 3 coats with a glossy top coat. I think I'd recommend a glitter smoother with this one because it's so packed with those striped glitters. It will eventually cause some texture after it dries down. Next up, we have Violet Opal, which is described as having a sheer bright violet jelly base with a mix of purple to green and purple to pink iridescent flakes. So as the description stated, this one was quite sheer on application. When I built it up in 3 coats, I did have a considerable amount of visible nail line. So personally, I would probably opt to wear this one as a topper. I think it looked great over a purple cream, but it would layer really well over a variety of shades because the base is just so light. Here's 3 coats with a glossy top coat. Yeah, there's a pretty good amount of visible nail line, but you do get like a kiss of purple from that base on your nail. And then here is what it looks like in 1 coat over a bright purple cream. That's my preference for how to wear this one. And then you get a little bit more coverage when you take it into indirect lighting. Your nail line isn't quite so visible, and my goodness, those flakies pop so well. Next up, we have Pink Opal. This one's described as having a neon pink sheer jelly base with a mix of pink to gold to pink iridescent flakes. This one in 1 coat was giving like just a dainty little flake across the nail, but it actually is surprisingly creamy leaning in the base, so I kind of feel like the base is a little bit crelly-like. You can really see that on the 3rd coat. It builds up pretty well. Like it gives a little bit more coverage than I was expecting on the 1st coat, and those flakies disperse beautifully across the nail. So this is 3 coats with a glossy top coat. My nail line is still visible, but I do have a very prominent nail line. If that's not your situation, it might not be as noticeable on you. And then I layered it over a bright pink cream, and I felt like it was a little bit lost against this brighter pink. Maybe next time I'd pair it with a deeper pink base. And then here's what it looks like in diffuse lighting. Up next, we have Boulder Opal, which is described as having a sheer brown jelly base with holographic microflakes, brown irregular glitters, and blue and teal to green iridescent flakes. This one was quite sheer as far as the base goes, but it's so packed with flakies and other good stuff that it actually built up quite well for me in 3 coats. This one was a surprise for me. I'm not a big brown nail polish wearer, but I really like how this one looked in 3 coats. It had a little bit of visible nail line, but the flakies and glitters really distracted from it, and I love the contrast of the brown base to the blue and green and purple flakies, and then the holographic. It was just a really fun combo. So this is 3 coats with a glossy top coat. Really fun and unique and interesting combination. And then on my thumb, I layered it over like a chestnut, brown, cream in 1 coat. I really liked how that looked as well. But I think I preferred it built up in 3 coats on its own, actually. Up next, we have Pinfire Opal. This one's described as having a dark black crelly, almost sheer jelly with blue undertone base with a rainbow mix of iridescent flakes. So this one was also quite sheer on that first coat, but you can see it's really smooth and even to work with. There's just the tiniest amount of flakies in there. They're pretty small and they disperse themselves beautifully on the nails. I loved the mix of colors in here. This was my favorite darker polish of this release. There are 3 like blacks, and of the 3, this one is my favorite. I just love that flaky size, and I felt like the application was really even and smooth. So this is 3 coats with a glossy top coat. And then here's what it looks like in 1 coat over a gray base, like a charcoal gray. That is my preferred way to wear this. Holy cow, I loved this one layered as a topper over darker colors. It was stunning. Next up, we have Moss Opal, which is described as having a sheer dark gray jelly base with a mix of green and cyan to green iridescent flakes. On application, this one was quite sheer. These darker polishes really surprised me because they look so dark in the bottle, but then when you apply them, they just have this kiss of black, which makes them really versatile. I love layering polishes, so this entire collection really is great for that. But in 3 coats, you kind of have like a grayish, browny black base, and then all of these beautiful blue, green flakies. Gosh, they're gorgeous. This one did have visible nail line in 3 coats, but the flakies conceal the nail line considerably. So this is 3 coats with a glossy top coat. There was a little bit of unevenness with this base. I think I just didn't do thin enough layers, and with flaky packed polishes, that's very important, because if you don't let them dry completely, if your layers are too thick, then on the next coat of polish, you will get dragging. And that's what happened. But this one was gorgeous. I think my preference is to use it as a topper though. And then the last darker polish in this release is called Black Opal. And this one has a sheer jelly black base with a mix of iridescent flakes in indigo to blue flakes and purple to pink. This one in the bottle, right up my alley. Like pink and blue are my favorite nail polish colors. So having them together in a black base, yes. But I didn't love how it looked on its own. Again, I think I should have waited a little longer for each coat to dry because the end result wasn't super even. I would just recommend going in with thin coats and giving them ample time to dry. I just felt like the base wasn't even across the nail. But the flakes were stunning. I love the color combination in here. So here's 3 coats with the glossy top coat. Again, the flakes are just beautiful. They're on the larger side, so they do provide a considerable amount of coverage for your visible nail line. But again, my preferred way to wear this is as a topper because over black, just wow. It stunned. Next up, we have Honeycomb Opal, which has a sheer crelly beige base with micro gold galaxy glitters and gold to orange hex glitters. This was another like oddball in this collection because it's so flaky packed, and this one has these really cool gold honeycomb looking glitters. This polish really surprised me as well. In the bottle, I was not thinking it was one I was going to enjoy, but I found it to be incredibly unique to my collection, and I loved the combination of components that were in this one. The base for this also seemed to lean just a little bit crelly, and because of that, I had a pretty decent amount of coverage on my visible nail line. A lot of those glitters came out too, which I was very pleased with. So this is 3 coats with a glossy top coat. In some indirect lighting, yes, my visible nail line is pretty prominent, but it is not as obvious as I expected it to be. This one I would recommend a glitter smoother for. And then here's what it looks like over a taupe cream. Up next, we have Water Opal. This one can be either worn as a topper, which I feel like they all can, but it was intended to be either worn as a topper or on its own. It's got a clear base with a mix of pink to gold iridescent flakes. So this polish was pretty packed with flakes. I'll show you on my full hand swatch what it looks like on its own, but I am showing you what it looks like here over a bright purple leaning pink cream. And look at those flakes. My goodness. They're so fun. They're gigantic. And you can see they're really packed on there, and they glow in bright lighting. They're so pretty. So here's what they look like on my nail. 3 coats on their own. You can see like a good amount of visible nail line, but it is distracted. You are distracted. There we go. By the flakes in Water Opal. And then here's what it looks like over a white base. It gives you a totally different look. This one definitely will look different depending on what you layer it over. Most of the time you'll get these gorgeous fiery flakes, but over lighter shades you get more like blue and pink. It's really fun. And then the final shade I have to share with you is called Jelly Opal. This one has a clear base with a mix of large shard flakes and a crafted rainbow mix. This one is not packed with flakies. It's got a wonderful variety of flakies, but it didn't have a ton of flakies in there. So I felt like it kind of gave a little bit of like an artistic, just a kiss of color, a kiss of interest to whatever I layered it over. I opted in a few cases to layer it over a 1 coat cream in a couple coats. So over black, you can see I layered it in 1 coat. On my middle and ring finger is what it looks like built up in 3 coats. It's very, very sheer. It's got a clear base. And then on my thumb, I layered it over a periwinkle cream in 2 coats. So you could kind of get an idea what it looks like in different amounts of coverage. So that was By Dany Vianna's new Opal collection. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. As for my thoughts, like when I unboxed these, they were total eye candy. Like just seeing those gorgeous iridescent flakes floating in that jelly base was, oh, it was so pretty. Like I kind of just want to display them somewhere in my nail room because they just look so gorgeous in the bottle, like little works of art. Once I got them on my nails, I was a little surprised just how sheer they were. I'm someone who doesn't tend to wear a whole lot of sheer shades, a whole lot of shades that show my visible nail line, but I know it is some of yours, and if it is, these are going to be right up your alley, and if it's not, maybe you'd love to try them as toppers, and I'm glad I got to show them that way too. But as far as favorites go, I had 2. The first was Water Opal, this gorgeous like warm iridescent flaky bomb. I loved how many flakes were packed in here. They really loaded themselves so well on the nail that I would consider wearing this on its own. Definitely over something like a blurring base, but I just like how versatile this one is with the clear base. Like I kind of wish there were more clear based polishes in this release. But this one was stunning. Absolutely loved. And then my other favorite was the other clear-based polish, or one of the others, Jelly Opal. I have iridescent flaky toppers, but none like this. Like the flakies in here, some of them are so massive and they are so like, they just look like a unicorn. They're so versatile in how they look depending on what you layer them on top of. So this was another favorite. Again, let me know your favorites and what you thought of this collection down in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!